Picnics are awesome. There's nothing better than picking up a loved one, then heading off to a nice park to enjoy a beautiful view while you eat pesto and olive tapenade and all those fancy foods. But there's a downside to picnics. Paper plates get blown away, hands and plates get covered in olive juice and sauce, and then when you get home you can't relax, you have to do the dishes.
There's got to be a better way.
And this is it, the ultimate picnic box I created that comes with hidden compartments, fine china, a working radio and running water. And it fits easily into the boot of the car. And this is how I brought it to life from a drawing to reality. Once I had a drawing made up, I went to the hardware store to start the creation. Now I'm in the hardware store getting crucial supplies, which unfortunately is very boring to watch. Really boring. So I tried to jazz it up by adding some sepia tone, a cool solar flare effect, speeding it up, and adding some cool music. With the box complete, I had to choose where everything was going to go, starting with the water system, which I was busy creating. I just used a jar and a small submersible motor, coupled with a little plastic nozzle. With the motor in place, I glued everything down, and then parts started arriving for my build, starting with the 6,800 mAh 12-volt lithium battery, and my $11 car stereo. This meant it was time to go to the Goodwill store, where I found a couple of cheap home stereo speakers for $2 each. With the speakers removed from their boxes, I extended the wiring and then got them ready to go inside my lid. This little reverberation chamber should give it a little bit of warmth. Next came running the water system through the box. I decided to run it against the back wall of the box, holding everything in place with clamps and glue. Then I got busy working on my car stereo system, making sure everything fits okay with the lid closed. Followed by the ultimate game of Tetris, where I had to figure out where everything was going to go in my little console panel. I cut it out with a jigsaw, which turned out to be a pain in the backside. Then I got busy creating a false panel at the back of the box to hide the water system. Well, I screwed that up, which failed at first, so I made another backing, which fit perfectly, and then I wired up the control system to turn the pump on and off. Next, I created a partition to house the nozzle and cleaning supplies. Then I got busy soldering and pre-wiring the power system, before testing the stereo to make sure that it's not going to be draining too much power. I worked out that with the stereo quite loud, it should still run for a good 15 to 18 hours. Creating authentic rope handles turned out to be a piece of cake. I just bought some cheap rope from the hardware store, then melted the end so it doesn't pop out while lifting. And while progress continued on the cutlery and stereo panel, I got busy moving on to the next phase, choosing the lining for the box. Now comes the next hard part, trying to figure out what fabric to put on the inside of the picnic box. Now I've seen this. Royal purple in velvelour horrific fabric. There's no easy way to describe how awful and painful it was to install the lining in this box. It took days. Days of cutting, gluing, more gluing, and engineering a whole new raft of swear words. Honestly, it was a pain in the backside. Progress has slowed to a crawl because now the upholstery needs to be done little increments at a time. Just filling up gaps and trying not to screw it up. It requires a lot of gluing and clamping and waiting, then cutting and more clamping and gluing. It's going to take a few more days at this rate. And then when I had everything glued in, I had to cut around the edges, which, as you can tell, even when sped up, is a tedious process. Gotta be honest, I'm getting sick of this bloody thing. If you're thinking of doing one of these yourself, don't. At least don't bother with upholstery. I've been doing this for 3 days now, I'm sick of it. But we were on the home straight. All that was left to do now was to solder up some last minute things such as the main power switch and get busy installing and wiring up the lid in the Florida winter. With the hard work done, I blew out all the crap using the air compressor and got busy preparing it for painting. I wanted a military camo green on the outside to make it look rugged and tough, whereas on the inside it would be like Liberace's mansion. With the box painted, I topped up the water supply for an initial system test which worked perfectly, and then I ran back down to the Goodwill store to start getting some fine china, because who wants to use paper plates? And this is what I found. For only $1 a plate, this is genuine fine china made in Japan. For the last stage, I attempted to install a little strut so the lid would open by itself. Oh, bollocks. But unfortunately it was too short, so I just went with a piece of string. And with the water system topped up once again, it was the moment you've all been waiting for. The big unveiling of the ultimate picnic box. Behold the final result. It has all the usual stuff you'd expect in a picnic box, such as serviettes and salt and pepper, but also has a compartment for hand sanitizer. It has a full compartment for teaspoons, serrated knives, butter knives, and of course it has a fully functional stereo. Picnics in the future aren't going to be a pain in the backside anymore. Don't have to worry about plates blowing away or doing dishes when you come home. Everything's going to be right there as you need it. The box has plenty of storage space, even with the fine china installed, but the piece of resistance is definitely the washing up cupboard, which includes a bottle of detergent, a scrubbing sponge, and of course running water. This means that you'll be able to do the dishes as you're packing up, which means when you get home, you can chill out and relax. So that's it. The ultimate picnic box is complete, with real fine china, running water, cutlery, serviettes, heaps of storage space, and a kick-ass stereo. The only thing that's left to do is to test it in the real world. So next weekend we're going to chuck it in the car and go for a picnic, so stay tuned.